41 years old, written off, benched in everyone's mind already. Then 6 minutes into the game, he did something no one else in the history of this sport has ever done. Stay with me. I'll show you the exact moment everything changed and why it should terrify every team still left in this tournament. You remember the headlines from just a few days earlier. Ronaldo, invisible. Ronaldo, finished. Ronaldo, a passenger, while Messi and Mbappe and Holland lit up this World Cup around him. Portugal had opened their campaign with a draw, 1-1, against DR Congo, a team most pundits had written off before the tournament even started. Ronaldo had 3 shots that night, 0 on target, 25 touches in 90 minutes. For a forward of his stature, that's not a quiet game. That's a crisis with his name on. He went into the half-chasing service that never arrived. In the second half, Jon Wissa headed in an equalizer that gave DR Congo their first ever World Cup goal. Portugal, dominant in possession for long stretches, somehow couldn't turn that control into anything that mattered. 10 straight matches without a goal in a major tournament. 10. For most players, that's a slump you quietly work through. For Ronaldo, at 41, in what is almost certainly his last World Cup, it read like an ending being written in real time. The pressure on manager Roberto Martinez was suffocating. Drop him, the pundits said. Build the team around someone else, they said. He's not the player he was, they said, again and again, until it started to feel less like opinion and more like consensus. Even Ronaldo's warm-up before the Uzbekistan match felt like an audition. Cameras tracked his every touch on the practice ball. Commentators debated his body language before kickoff like it was evidence in a trial. It didn't help that everyone else at the top of this sport seemed to be having the exact opposite week. Messi had started fast for Argentina. Mbappe looked sharper than ever for France. Holland was scoring for fun for Norway. Harry Kane had already found the net for England. The contrast wasn't subtle. It was the main storyline of the entire opening round of fixtures, and Ronaldo was on the wrong side of it. You know that feeling when the player you've watched your whole life suddenly looks like he's running out of road, and you don't know whether to defend him or brace yourself for the worst? That's exactly where Portugal's fans were standing heading into this match. But here's what almost nobody outside the Portugal camp knew. Ronaldo had spent those quiet, brutal days doing exactly what he's done his entire career when people count him out. Work studying tape, refusing to accept the story being written about him by people who've never had to perform under that kind of weight. Martinez stayed loyal anyway. He kept Ronaldo in the starting lineup, kept defending him in press conferences, kept insisting that experience and quality don't evaporate overnight just because the headlines say so. 6 minutes into the match against Uzbekistan, João Cancelo found a low cross from the right. Ronaldo met it first time, calm, clinical, like none of the previous week had happened at all. Net. 1-0. That's the moment I promised you. The exact second the entire narrative flipped on its head. But this is where it gets bigger than just one goal in one group game. Did you know that goal made Ronaldo the first player in the history of this sport to score at 6 different World Cups? Not Messi, not Pele, not Maradona, not anyone who has ever played this game at the highest level. 6 tournaments, 6 different years, one player standing alone at the top of that particular mountain. Think about what that actually spans. His first World Cup goal came back in 2006 when half the players on this current Uzbekistan squad weren't even born yet. He was scoring at World Cups before smartphones looked anything like they do now. And somehow he was still doing it 20 years later, at an age when most professional footballers have already been retired for the better part of a decade. 11 minutes after that opener, Nuno Mendes stepped up to a free kick and curled it into the top corner with a finish that looked more like art than set-piece routine. 2-0. Uzbekistan, complete debutantes at this World Cup, simply had no answer. Could you find Uzbekistan on a map before this tournament even started? Be honest with yourself. Yes or no? Drop it in the comments, because that's exactly why this result mattered so much to them, and exactly why it mattered so little to Portugal once Ronaldo got going. The Uzbeks weren't just overwhelmed. They were coached by Fabio Cannavaro, a World Cup winner himself back in 2006, the same year Ronaldo scored his very first World Cup goal. 2 careers that crossed paths decades ago, now standing on opposite sidelines in Houston. For Uzbekistan, just being at this World Cup was already history. A nation that had never qualified before, walking out under the lights of a stadium in Texas against one of the most decorated players the sport has ever produced. They'd already lost their opener 3-1 to Colombia, and now they were facing a Portugal side desperate to prove a point. There was no version of this match that was going to be kind to them, and Ronaldo made sure of that within 6 minutes. 39 minutes in, Bruno Bruno Fernandes slid a pass through the defensive line. Ronaldo finished calmly past the goal. 3-0. His second goal of the night. His 10th World Cup goal overall. That number matters more than it sounds like it should. 10 goals at World Cups now makes Ronaldo the all-time leading scorer for Portugal at this tournament. More than the legendary Eusebio, the man Portuguese football has measured every striker against for 60 years. More than anyone who has ever worn that shirt on this stage. Eusebio scored his Portugal World Cup goals across a single tournament back in 1966, a blistering run that made him a national legend overnight. Ronaldo built his total slowly across 2 decades, 4 continents worth of opponents, and more managers, formations, and tactical fashions than most fans can even name. 2 completely different paths to the same record, separated by 60 years and somehow connected by the same shirt. We've all felt this watching our own team's veteran get written off too early by people who weren't paying attention the year before. That moment when the crowd turns on someone who gave everything for over a decade just because form dipped for a few uncomfortable games. It stings differently when it's someone you grew up watching score the goals that defined your own childhood. This is usually where a story like this would end. Veteran silences doubters, team wins big, everyone quietly moves on to the next storyline. But stay with me, because there's a second twist here that almost nobody outside this match is talking about yet. Ronaldo didn't just become the answer to one record, he also became the oldest player ever to score a brace at a World Cup, breaking a mark that used to belong to Lionel Messi. 2 icons, 2 different countries, spending this entire World Cup quietly trading records with each other without ever sharing the same pitch. Messi opens his account early in the tournament. Ronaldo answers days later. That rivalry never needed a head-to-head match to stay alive, and this World Cup just proved it again in real time. Subscribe right now if you want every one of these stories the moment they happen, because this channel tells you what these moments actually mean, not just the final score sitting on a graphic. The big channels will give you the highlights. We give you the why behind. By halftime, Portugal led 3-0, and Uzbekistan looked like a team simply trying to survive until the final whistle. After the break, Portugal kept pushing forward with the confidence of a side that had remembered exactly who they were. An Uzbekistan defender, under relentless pressure near his own goal, turned the ball into his own net trying to deal with a corner. 4-0. Then Rafael Leao, introduced from the bench in the second half, thumped in a 5th in the 87th minute, finishing off a performance that had stopped being a contest somewhere around minute 20. 5-0 final score. Fairy tale ending, or just a great team finally clicking into gear at exactly the right moment? Pick one in the comments below, because both things can be true at once, and that combination is exactly what makes this so dangerous for whoever Portugal faces next in this tournament. Here's the part that should genuinely worry the rest of the World Cup. Portugal didn't need their best players firing on all cylinders for the full 90 minutes to produce this. They needed 6 minutes from Ronaldo to flip the entire mood of the match, and the rest of the performance built itself on top of that foundation. Imagine what happens in the knockout rounds when the rest of this Portugal team peaks at the exact same moment he does. Martinez stayed loyal through every single headline calling for change, every pundit demanding a different approach, every uncomfortable question in every press conference that week. After the final whistle, Ronaldo didn't celebrate like a man desperately proving a point to his critics. He celebrated like a man who never doubted himself in the first place, who had simply been waiting for the moment to remind everyone why that confidence was earned. That composure, that refusal to perform anger at the people who wrote him off all week, is genuinely harder to produce at 41 years old than the goals themselves. Anyone can score when the moment arrives. Very few players can carry a week of public doubt, walk onto the pitch, and look completely unbothered by all of it within 6 minutes of kickoff. Portugal now sit top of Group K with 4 points from 2 matches. Colombia, who beat Uzbekistan 3-1 in their own opening fixture, sit just 1 point behind in second place. The final group game is approaching fast, and suddenly, the entire conversation around this Portugal squad has changed completely in less than a week. Do they go all the way to the knockout rounds as genuine contenders this World Cup, not just a team riding one big result? Commit to it right now in the comments, yes or no. Let's see who actually called it before it happened instead of after. 41 years old, written off less than a week ago by almost everyone watching, and now the first man in the history of this sport to score at 6 different World Cups, sitting on top of his group while every other contender in this tournament watches a little more nervously than they did a week ago. That's not the ending anyone outside Portugal's camp was writing for him. That's the one one he wrote for himself. 6 minutes into a match, nobody expected him to dominate. And if there's one lesson buried inside all of this, it's that the players who get written off the loudest are sometimes the ones still capable of rewriting the entire story in less time than it takes to finish reading the headlines about. And another giant nearly fell this week too. You won't believe how close it actually got before they pulled it back. It's on your screen right now, so go tap it before you do anything.